Welcome to the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to the commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified special trainer. Our goal is to shine a light on what we believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. We love the work we do, and we're glad you're here listening to this podcast. This episode, we feature Quentin Webb. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, this episode is sponsored by Viper HVACR products. Did you know that Viper's NSF registered coil cleaners are a must-have for kitchen maintenance? No rinsing required. Plus, Viper's HVACR products were created by technicians for technicians, ensuring top-notch quality. Viper believes in performance without hazardous ingredients, so they're safe to use in the kitchen. They're safe to use around food products, so that's good for us in the kitchen. So tonight, Rich and myself, a very special guest, Quentin Webb, on. You guys have seen Quentin in the past. He jumped on our little episode we did where we kind of just threw it out there to everybody. Quentin was on for a little bit that night, so we thought it was only fitting to have Quentin back for his own full feature episode. So what's going on, Quentin?
Oh, just working myself to death. Rich knows what that's like.
Yep. I'm learning what that's like for sure. I'm enjoying it though.
Somebody else.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world when you're out there on your own doing it, and it's your baby. You're not doing it for somebody else. So
yeah,
that's definitely a different feed. Your name's tied to it, your image is on the line. I try to treat it the same way, though. I mean, I don't know. Just everyone has their own little thing, I guess.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, that's the thing about me, which y'all obviously know that already. But yeah, even when it wasn't mine, I still treated it like it was mine. Like I said, I had told my last boss when we interviewed, I said, listen, it's my face the customer sees. It's my reputation. I was like, if I screw up, if I don't do things right, they're just going to say, that some idiot in a van screwed it all up. They're not going to necessarily tarnish the company name. So I've always looked at stuff like, this is me, like screw the name on the van.
Yeah. And that's what I don't understand is how people are okay with doing the work they do when it's shitty. Let's just say it. How can you go out there and do that to somebody and be fine with it? Like, whatever. Next guy will clean it up. That kind of mentality. I just can't live like that. I mean, and I did briefly work for Hobart at one point in my career for about 4 months. So I went behind a lot of other guys. And to be fair, the franchise I worked for, most of the guys are pretty good. They were pretty good techs, and the service manager I worked with, he was great. He was a really good tech. He's still out there working. He does PMs. He stepped down from being service manager, and now he just does PM work because, sailing into retirement. But I can't tell you how many jobs I went on, and they'd send me to go back and finish where they had ordered parts, and I'd come back with just boxes full of parts that I didn't need. It's like, I don't need any of this. Are you sure? You really sure you didn't need that?
Yep.
And I didn't know what the score was with that when I first started working there. I'd only been in for like 6 years doing this work in the field, so I was green and naive. But I think the best one I had was they sent me to an Applebee's to work on a salamander. And there was a gas valve, a knob, and a pilot assembly. And so I walk in the door and say, well, what's wrong with it? They said, well, the burner won't come on. I said, okay. So I go over and it's just sitting there dead. So I light the pilot lights. Like, okay, that's good. Turn the valve. Valve had good action on it. Wasn't tight or sticking or nothing. And I took a striker and just all across there, will it light anywhere? Am I getting anything? Nothing. Popped the cover off. What do you think was wrong? Orifice is clogged up. That's it.
Yep.
Like, so we made 2 calls, ordered all these damn parts, which, they weren't expensive parts, but Y'all could have fixed it the other day. And
Yeah,
then
I had a
go ahead.
I was gonna say I had a similar call, and but they threw $6,000 of parts and labor in, and then I walked in and I'm like, let me check this orifice. Oh snap! Clean that out, put it back together. It was the pilot orifice, and then the thing lit, and then because we had gone to it so many times, I do a follow up. So I don't know, 3-4 days later, I pull in. Yo, this thing's been perfect. It hasn't even ran, more than a day when the other people were coming, and it's been great. Thank you so much. I'm like, bro, like the basics. The notes said basically no matter what he did, he couldn't get the pilot flame any bigger. So they replaced the valve and the burners and who knows what else, but it was $6,000.
yeah.
Oh my God.
I had one last week. In the last week, uh, it was a rationale, it was popping and booming. And they'd been doing it so long that they had to change the premix valve, the burner blower, and he changed the gas valve for some reason. I'm not sure why. But he had like 6 or 7 trips since then, and he was changing harnesses, modules, igniters, flame sensors, everything. And I was like, what is going on here? And I was like, finally, my boss was like, I need you to go out there. He's like, I told him to call you. He won't call you. It's like, so I went out there, and I was like, okay, it has never lit since he changed the gas valve. Looked right at the gas valve, right at the gas screw, and it's ran all the way in. I was like, never had gas for 6 or 7 visits. Never got one bit of gas into that burner. Just kept coming back and throwing more stuff at it. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, I know you've seen mine, and I'm sure I probably sent you and Jason the pictures of they changed the igniter box, they changed something else. They sent me with a gas valve. I go in, I look, and the gas valve was switched off. I switched the gas valve on, and perfect.
Uh, yeah,
I mean,
it's amazing. I don't want to butt in. I'm just stuff's coming into my head. I was telling you in that comment earlier. I was like driving between calls today, trying to figure out what I'm gonna say. Um, well, what I want to say before I forget it, you mentioned rationale, so you just triggered me. But so I had a stack of these at a university that we service nearby, and they want us to look at it. And I went in there, and I'm not a combi guy. I've not been to school for them. I don't know. So I said I'll look at them. I'm not going to guarantee anything. So like the top one had service 17 on it, and the humidity control was melted and gone. There was so much wrong with this thing, both of them. They had never been PM'd in the 14 years they had them ever.
hold on, Quentin. I have to address this. I'm not. I don't want to stop you.
Go ahead.
It has to be addressed. So Hughesman, Ryan Hughes, from Misfits HVAC and Hughesman HVAC, he says he was sent to replace a gas valve in a unit that didn't have a gas line pipe to it. That'd be great. I had to. I probably just derailed your whole thing. So let's get back to your rat first.
Oh God, that's like changing a power cord on a millivolt fryer. But they had all this shit wrong with them, and like I said, no PMs ever. They don't clean them either. They were nasty. And I mean, I went into it and spent God knows how many hours and called Rationale, walked through all the stuff. They said you need a flash drive and an SD card. That'll fix your Service 17 problem. Gave me all the instructions. So ordered all these parts, went back in there, did all what they said, still didn't fix it. I'm like, Jesus. So a couple more hours of fighting, and I finally went to the guy and I said, look, I'm walking away. And that's a hard thing for me to do because I don't like walking away from it. I want to fix it. I want to figure it out. But I just hit a wall, and I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and beat my head against this wall until I'm dead or broke, whichever comes first. And, it's just like, you had to cut and run at that point. I said, look, I'm going to charge you for the parts I've had to use, but I'm not charging you any labor for this because this is all me and I can't figure it out. And, you see a lot on LinkedIn and the Facebook groups where people kind of, show their screw ups, and that's a hard thing to do. And I'll admit it. I mean, I got my ass kicked and I lost. It isn't like I took an ass whipping and fixed it. I took an ass whipping and lost. But, I still have the customer. They called Hobart, and I ran into the Hobart guy while he was there working on it. I said, "This thing's in rough shape, ain't it?" He said, "Yeah, it's pretty bad." But, and he spent a day working on it, and he was trained. He had been to rationale school. So, I mean, I didn't feel bad knowing that he had to spend a day on it to figure it out. Um, admitting your mistakes, that's a big thing people just got to start doing. You can't walk around with this mentality of, I'm never wrong. You know, you have to own it. And I know we all talked about this a lot. I don't want to beat it to death, but I got a good story from a walk-in for Colpack warranty you did last week.
First,
We just
we get too tied into this. Let's give everybody a little background on our story about how you got in this industry. I kind of headed into it a little bit on the intro, a family tradition. So let's get down into who you are and how you got into this.
Whew, that's a lot. Well, I'll try to do this as quickly and as simple as possible. So my mom and dad went to work for this company, Old Dominion, in 1973. They worked for about 20 years for that company, and then the man that owned it, Jack Hutchins, he died. And a management company took the company over and ran it, and then they embezzled money, and they all went to prison. And after that happened, his widow, Mr. Hutchins' widow, finally said, "I'm going to close it down." So my parents made an offer to buy the customer sheet and inventory, buy the building in Roanoke, the Roanoke branch, because we had a Norfolk, Richmond, and Roanoke. Norfolk was the main. And so they bought that, and they tried to work it out with all the other employees to keep the whole thing open, but you couldn't get 30 people to agree on what to do and who's going to pay for it. So they just put saran wrap around all the inventory and auctioned it off for pennies and closed all that up. So they opened Old Dominion Services of Roanoke Incorporated. We had to distinguish the name a little when they did that in 1994. And in 99, I started working there legally with a paycheck. But before that, like I sent to you in the bio, my first call was at Howard Johnson, I think. It was Howard Johnson or Holiday Inn. I'm a little fuzzy on which one it was now because I was 4. On a Blakesley dishwasher when we changed the contactor. And I think we charged $110 in labor, and it was a 2-hour round trip drive.
Dang.
Yeah, the contactor was $46 or something. I mean, it wasn't a big ticket. So, but I always I rode with my dad. Anytime I got the chance, I'd be at the shop in the summer when we were out of school, and I'd go on every call with him and just carry his bag, watch what he was doing, and I learned a lot that way. And then once I started actually working, then I had to actually, go fix something. I can't just watch anymore. And I'll be honest with you, it took me a long time to get wiring diagrams down. That kicked my ass for about 3 years in the beginning. I had a hard time learning that part. But it's kind of like algebra. Once it clicks, then it's easy after that. So, yeah, I started in 99, and I left for, like I said, 4 months. I went to work for Hobart just to see what it was like. We were slow. They were hiring. I said, man, let's go over here and check this out for a little bit and see what it's like. And I learned a whole lot of what I didn't want to do over there as a business. And I mean, that's kind of how I got into it, and I've been in it ever since. I mean, it's like in my blood. It's almost a disease to be addicted. It's like an addiction to this industry. I love it. I love the people in it, like you guys. I mean, social media, as much as I hate social media, honestly, has been a boon because none of us would know each other. There's no way. We might meet at a CFESA conference, maybe, and exchange phone numbers, but that would kind of be the end of it. where, I mean, I went to the conference a few weeks ago and met all these people in person that I talked to on LinkedIn and Facebook, finally, face to face. And I talked to one guy in particular. Y'all know him, Nathan from Coastline Cooling in Florida. And he's got his stuff together. I mean, he's a real cool dude. We talked for an hour about hiring and how he does his apprenticeship program. He gave me a lot of helpful information that I'm going to need because I've got to hire somebody. I mean, my dad's almost 73 this year, and, you know, getting in the floor is not an option anymore. He'll sit on a bucket and maybe work on some grill, but getting down working on fryers or under counter dishwashers, yeah, it's not going to happen anymore because can't get back up. And hell, I'm 42 and I'm starting to feel it. So I'm like, I tell him, I said, we got to hire somebody because I'm not going to work for 30 more years like this because I'll be dead when I get there. There's no way. But yeah, that's kind of the brief bio of my life in this business.
Yeah, social media has been a huge blessing for me in this industry. I've met a lot of great people. You know, I've done a lot of cool stuff just because of social media, and it keeps growing. And you know, we had the video we put last week of Matt Brunty from Red and some of the connections he made because coming on the show and some of the doors it's opened for him is really cool. And I never thought, that just getting on here and talking to guys like you and Rich and Jason and Matt would do the things it's done for the industry for myself. It's really cool. It's really cool.
It is. I mean, like Matt. I mean, I've been talking to him this afternoon, and because he's trying to get in with a factory, which he put a post on LinkedIn about it. And I just told him, I said, I'll call tomorrow and I'll go to bat for you and see if I can, get something going because we've been doing Moffat for 40 years. I've seen people go in and leave it, place. So if I can help him out, that's something that going to see Festa conference helped me with. Is I had never been to one, and that got me out of my box because you're always sitting here in this box, and every competitor's your enemy in your mind. You're always trying to beat them or do better, and it is kind of a cutthroat business. But going there and seeing, the cooperative effort being made, and yeah, we're still all trying to kill each other in the field, but it's a little more civilized, I guess is the word for it. I don't know. You're still sitting there with a dagger in one hand and a smile in the other while you're talking to everybody.
But at least it's a friendly competition now. Though,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's all friendly competition. I mean, like this cold pack warranty. We just signed up with them last week, and 2 days in, I got a call. I didn't figure I'd get a call for God knows how long because a lot of the places in my area, other than chains, they're not going to spend the money on that. They're going to buy something cheaper. And so we got that call, and to be fair, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to do that, but it was an installation problem, a lot of installation problem. They had a cooler that was getting up to 50 degrees, and so I walk in. I'm kind of green with refrigeration. I'm a greenhorn. I'll admit that up front. And so I walked in the door, and it's 46, 47 on the dial outside. So I walk in, I'm looking stuff over, and I look up, it's got these low profile evaporators that are hung from the ceiling, and they come up and shoot out. 2 of them in this cooler. It's a pretty big box. It's probably 10 by 20 or something. It's pretty big. And I looked up at the suction line coming out the back, and the TXV bulb was just hanging out in midair. On one. The other one, they had it strapped with a zip tie at least, but it was sitting on 12 o'clock on top of the tube. And I went, well, that's no good. Let's stir it here.
Yeah.
You are to use the copper because the copper helps spread the heat or the cooling characteristics of the pipe. So you're supposed to use the copper for a reason, but at least they found it.
Yeah, and I mean, I did a little better. I could have done better. I ran to Lowe's real quick, and I just grabbed some hose clamps. I need to get this thing clamped down, see if I can get it to work.
Yeah.
So I did that, wrapped it real good, I had to move it back in a little bit because out where it was, there was this huge chunk of candle wax hanging off the bottom where they soldered it together. I mean, it's awful. I'm not exaggerating. It was at least that much hanging out the bottom.
Big piece of bird shit.
Yeah. So pulled all it back in, strapped it up, let it run, and then it came down. It was like 38. I was like, okay, I think we're good. And there was some other stuff. They had this one's got those Penn Johnson digital controllers, A421s, and the temperature probes were hanging like down into the box, just swinging there. So I got with talked to Jay, and he walked me through what I needed to do with those because like that can't be right, just hanging out in midair like that.
No.
So
By chance, low pros.
he wanted them behind the evaporator, kind of in the intake, sort of.
Yep.
And I did what I could with it, and that seemed to be fine. And it ran fine for a while, and then they called back. Hell, it was that night. I went on this call on a Friday. It was last Friday at 4, and I left at 6. And I was talking to the manufacturer's rep, and I told him, I said, I'm getting ready to leave here. I think we're good. I said, my daughter's ball game's at 6:30, and I'm not screwing that up for nobody. I'm going to be there.
Nice.
And so I'm at the game, and he texts me. He said, it's up to 50 degrees again. Can you go back out tonight? I said, I'll be there in the morning. So I rolled back out there, and it was a Saturday morning, pouring down rain. Got up on the roof. It's like, let me check up here and see what else is wrong. They had set the delay timer was on 0. I was like, that's not right. It says 5 minutes right here on this piece of paper inside. So fixed that, checked the pressures. I thought maybe they overcharged it when they put it in because it comes pre-charged, but maybe whoever did it thought they needed to add some gas to it because it ain't got no gas in it or something. And that ended up being fine. So I checked the defrost time. It was set to defrost 8 times a day.
For how long?
30 minutes each time. So every
Holy
3
crap.
hours, this thing was going into defrost. So I was like, well, no wonder it keeps losing temp and doing this crap.
Yeah, exactly.
So I dialed it back to, they were saying 3 for 30, but I'd set it for 3 and 45 because I couldn't get it Saturday. I wasn't going to call and bug anybody on a Saturday about it. So this ought to work. And they still have a little issue with it going up, but I explained to them, I said, this controller has no clock in it. It doesn't know what time of day it is. So it's a good chance y'all are going in and out of it when it's in defrost. Does the temperature go back down? Well, yeah. Like, I mean, there's a fix for that. We'll put an electromechanical timer on it. We'll know what time it's going in defrost, But I was telling the manufacturer's rep when I was talking to him about this call, I said, I hate that this happens. Somebody got paid whatever they got paid to come put this huge unit in. I mean, it's like 4 units. It's 3 coolers and a freezer. It's all one big thing. And how did they screw that up so bad? I mean, if you're handling refrigerant and you're doing refrigeration, you've got to know the TXV and where it's got to go. That's 101 crap right there. And I said, I'm a greenhorn, and I walked in and saw that pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
How did y'all miss it installing it and putting it together? Were y'all just in a hurry to get out? I mean, maybe there's no excuse. There can't be an excuse for that. I was trying to go through my head, like, is there a reason they did that? Like, nah, they just lazy or stupid. One of the two. I'm sorry. I just call it what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Here, who installed it? You don't have to say names. Was it a legit food service company, though? Like,
oh, yeah, it's a big company.
Oh, boy.
It's a big company with numbers in their name. Yeah. Let's just say that.
With numbers in their name? Okay.
I mean, and I feel bad because once he told me who did it, I thought, I almost want to call the guy because I just saw him at a conference last week. and say, man, you better get on the ball with these people because they're going to get you in trouble.
I don't think it's his company anymore. So
Yeah, he's a nice guy, and he seems pretty good. I liked him. I didn't get to talk to him a lot. I just yeah, he's a good guy though. I think. I don't know why he did that. I would never. Nobody's buying me out. I'll say that right now into the camera.
uh,
Nobody's buying me out. You can come with $1 billion. I'm gonna tell you that going down the road.
You say that until they come with an $18
No,
million check.
no, no, ain't doing it. I got this right here. This right here. I can't sell out. There's no way. This means more to me than money. I mean, this is like my family history right here. Um, I just did some research too because I'm on the old company because they started in 1903 and it was Old Dominion Electric. And what they did originally was they worked on light fixtures because light fixtures were kind of new back then, you know. And they did household appliances and stuff up until the late 1950s, and then by then in the early 60s, that's when Mr. Hutchins took over from his father, John Hutchins, and they got into food equipment. And then he was one of the founders of Zufessa and all that kind of stuff. So, it's a lot of, we weren't related to him or anything, but it's always been a family entity through its years. Right. And although we changed names because you had to for the State Corporation Commission and all that kind of stuff because they were closing the old company down, it's still the same people. So
Same legacy.
Same legacy, yeah. I mean, I thought like Middleby Marshall. I mean, Middleby Marshall was 1888, but it's not the same company it was when it started.
Right.
So,
no, I think that's cool though, because there are a lot of people that I talk to that they're building it for way more than just the money. You know what I mean? They're building it for reputation or for legacy or for something that's way bigger than just, hey, here's $5 million. Let me buy your company. And, they're like, I've never seen anything close to $5 million in my life. And I just told the company, no, keep walking. So yeah, it's cool to see that.
And that's fine if you want to do that. I mean, if you want to build a company and sell it, there's nothing wrong with that either. If that's what you want to do. And that makes sense. I mean, you can do it. Plenty of people have. And I think that's what the other fellow did we're talking about. And everybody's got their own reasons. But for me, that's mine. I've got a son and a daughter, and they both already want to work at the company. And they're 7 and 9 years old. So, it's kind of like looking in the mirror. I get a little emotional. And I tell both, especially my daughter, she's the one that's really, really wanting to work here. And I said, look, you can work here. You don't have to. I'm not going to make you do it. I'm not going to expect it of you. You say you want to now, you may not later. Don't worry. You ain't going to break my heart. I'll figure it out. It'll be all right.
Yeah, my youngest son just applied to work with me this week. So.
That's cool.
That's cool.
I'll have two. So I told him if both my kids work here, they got to put my name on the door. So we'll see if that
happens. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, my son, I wasn't expecting him to work with me. And then when I started, he was, hey, I want to come work with you, see if I like it. And me and him were talking, and he asked me, he said, would I sell the business for the right amount of money? And I said, well, my thinking is I want to build the business to be sellable. But, if my kids want to take it over, I'm not going to sell it out from underneath them. So I was like, that's on y'all, your younger brothers and your sister. If y'all want to take it over one day, then I personally don't care what anybody offers me. It'll be y'all's. But if you don't, and I'm hitting, 55, 60 years old, and somebody comes with a nice chunk of change that they want to buy it, that sucker might be gone. But, that's still, that's down the line. I'm not worried about that now, but.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. That down the line comes real fast. You'd be surprised. Because it happened today. I was at the office. I just got back from Floyd, which is 40 miles, but it's about an hour and 20-minute drive because it's in BFE nowhere. And me and my dad were standing there, and my mom was there giving us these 2 new calls that just come in. She's just rattling on. I turn around and look at him. I go, we got to hire somebody. He said, no shit. I can't keep doing this. It's like, oh, God. I mean, if I don't get one more call today, I got 2 weeks worth of work in front of me. I mean,
Dang.
we have never been that busy. And no kidding. I mean, it's just crazy all of a sudden. And I really don't know why. I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, we have our core customers we've always had, so we take care of them, and we have a really good client sheet. I mean, I've got some damn good customers. They all pay within 30 to 40 days. I've got a few that are a little slower for their own reasons, but they always pay, and they're good. But I mean, we're just getting an influx of new calls from new people. And then, I mean, like this cold pack deal with Jay just hit me up on LinkedIn and said, hey, you want to be a service agent for us? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll do that.
Cool.
That'd be really cool,
This episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles is proudly sponsored by Viper. Viper brings you NSF registered coil cleaning products, the legendary Nylog for sealing threads and gaskets, and solutions for heat protection like wet rag. Viper's HVAC products were crafted by HVAC technicians themselves, so you know they mean business. Plus, Viper believes in non-toxic solutions because performance should never come with a compromise. Maintain your cool with Viper.
So that goes back to some of this, social media stuff. And, it is a gateway for a lot of things that can be good. It's not all garbage. Facebook's mostly garbage. But LinkedIn, I don't do Facebook anymore. I still have it, but I don't even look at it because I just got so burned out on all the BS, and I just stay on LinkedIn for the most part because
Those
everybody.
groups are over there, man. I catch myself. Most time I try to be good, but I slipped up last week and I made a comment, and I shouldn't have made it. The he's always posting rationale stuff, and he's always struggling. The factory won't help him, and it's just one thing after another. And he's always posting, always posting, always posting. And it caught me in the mood, and I was like, maybe it's time to find a different job.
You told him that?
Yeah. And I was like dead serious. I was like, I wasn't being a smart ass or nothing. I was like, if you're not catching it, you're not figuring it out. Maybe it's just time to move on. It's like, man, I should have said that.
Did you at least delete the comment?
No, I left it.
Nah, don't do a dirty delete. Just leave it.
Stewart said he's seen that. Yeah. It wasn't my finer moment, but I mean, the guy always struggles, dude. It's just like, if you can't get help and you're not grasping it, maybe it's time to do something else. Or maybe, hey, I can't take these rationale calls. Give me something else. I can't take these. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Just like I said with mine. I mean, I worked on it. I couldn't figure it out. I walked away. It's enough. The customer's not getting fixed. I'm not doing anybody any favors. And, if you don't stick with what you know, that's the thing. That's what my dad always said. We need to work on what we know and not try to go do all this other stuff we don't. But, it's like refrigeration. He never touched that, never wanted to get involved. I never did either until recently because I started studying on it and realized, hey, I could figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got a dealer in town that I know's got a lot of used equipment. I practiced on that stuff for a while. After I got my card, if the EPA's listening, I had my card. So, and I learned on his stuff. And, if I fixed it, I fixed it. It didn't matter. And then I got good enough to where, hey, I think I can charge people for this now. I'm doing all right. So if you know it, work on it. If you don't, stay the hell away from it. Find somebody who can and get them to that customer and get them fixed. Because, even if you've got to do the old Miracle on 34th Street trick where you send a customer to somebody else and they get taken care of, they're going to remember that.
Yeah. So Megan has a good point. She said LinkedIn is good for nurturing manufacturing relationships. Yeah. Quentin has a great example of it. He's doing some bolt back work now. And I never know what account Megan's going to be on when she comments. It's either this one or it's this account or what. So, LinkedIn is really good for that manufacturing relationship, man. if I'm wanting to do something with a manufacturer, I find a manufacturer, I follow them, click employees, and just start adding people. Connect, and it works, man. It gets your name in front of a lot of people, and that's what all it takes.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean it's a good ground for that. And like me, I kind of got in trouble with with a certain part supplier last year on Facebook, and
We don't have to guess because I'm sure I know who it is.
well, I mean it's not a big deal, but I'd said some stuff, and I actually had Chuck Combs from Parchtown call me, and he's a nice guy. He said he was kind of basically saying, I've been asked to kind of give you a call and talk to you a little bit and see if we could help you out, And I said, yeah, I know I've said some pretty ugly stuff about y'all on Facebook. He said,
What did you
yeah.
say?
I called him the evil corporation.
A big fault.
I, I said, I'm just being lighthearted. I mean, y'all are huge. I'm tiny. I can't do nothing to you. But he did reach out and we discussed, my problem I had with him. I said, look, it's kind of funny. I started doing that and we started getting quotes from y'all. And suddenly our discount structure went from something reasonable to something asinine, like 3% on stuff. And I'm like, come on now. you know, I'm not trying to take this personally, but come on. And so we've had a little dialogue over the last year. And he was actually at the CFESA meeting the other week, and I got to see him, and I didn't get to chat with him much though. Um, but we're going to hook up probably at NAFM next year and talk a little more. I mean, because I'll do business with them if they can give me reasonable discount numbers. I'm used to 50. Come on, I mean, I'm in ASA for 20 factories. My little company we've got, and we're used to a reasonable discount structure.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
you can't get it from everybody. I know Hobart, everybody pays list, blah blah blah. Everybody knows that, but
Hmm.
don't tell me you can't do better on a turbo chef part or something. I know y'all are getting 60 off or something. Give me a little more than nothing. I don't need it from them. I can get turbo chef direct anyway, but it's just it's 4 days from Dallas to get to me. I can get it from Illinois in two and not have to pay god awful amounts of shipping charges from the factory because they charge their next day air is just outrageously high, and then they charge a handling fee on top of it. So it's
Hmm.
$150 to get some overnighted from them if it's light. If it's heavy, you're
Dang.
gonna be in trouble. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm rambling, but going to that conference kind of helped because I got to meet these people. I got to meet Chuck. I talked to him on the phone, but I never seen him, and that kind of like it makes it a little different. You really start feeling a little more camaraderie between even enemies. You get a little camaraderie with them, and at the end of the day, we're all here to service a customer. That sounds like a cliche, but it's the truth.
It's
yeah,
literally what we do, though.
That's
Solve
it.
problems and take care of people.
Yeah, just find people solutions and resolutions. That's all it is. I mean, I said that one time. I don't remember where it was, but it's always this push toward training. You need to be factory trained on everything. You need to have your CFESA certifications. You need blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, none of that shit's going to matter if you can't fix it. So, uh, we're not encyclopedias. We are troubleshooters.
mhm.
Hmm.
That's our thing. You got to pull this thing out of your pocket and call or
Yep.
look it up. I mean, I did that today. That Colin Floyd was an under counter disc machine, a Moyer Diebel, and they called last week and said, "Hey, this thing, there's no display." We turn the power switch on and the light comes on, but there's no display anymore. And they said, "Oh, by the way, our generator had a failure and sent 200 volts down and blew a whole bunch of other stuff up too." I said, "Well, let me just go ahead and order board, you know." And they're kind of like, "Well,
Yeah.
can you come check it first?" I'm like, well, "Why do you want me to charge you $300 to come tell you what I already know?" let me at least bring the board. And if it's not bad, then okay. Then you had to wait a little bit, and I got to send a part back. But no, it was a board. It was fried. But I changed it out, turned the machine back on, and I had a E come up on the screen, error code, immediately. I'm like, what's this crap? So I went on my phone and pulled up the manual and looked at it, and it said thermistor. So I unplugged both thermistors, ohmed them out. They were fine. I'm like, okay, plug them back in, and then it went away. And then I ran the machine a couple cycles, and it came back. So I'm sitting here screwing around with the wires and tugging and pulling and twisting. It's like, there's got to be a broken wire. There's got to be something going on here. And then I just broke down. I called Champion, and I got a guy named Andy down there. I talked to a lot. Andy's really good. And I told him everything. I went through the whole spiel. He said, "Oh, just go up on the board. And there's a pin connector where the thermistors are." He said, "And when they build those boards, they spray them with a coating, and that coating gets on the pins. Just take and pull it and push it in a few times. It'll be fine." So I went up there and did it a few times, and it worked fine, just like that. I mean,
See,
not something
that's
you're
the
gonna
thing.
think of.
Yeah, and that's the thing I don't get, and I've had this conversation a lot, is why so many techs will not call tech support or a senior tech. I mean, I'm like, I'm good at what I do, and I've got no hesitation calling somebody who does or at least should know more than I do. I mean, the group chat that me, Pat, and Jason are in, especially if I'm like on a rationale, and I'm not bad on rationale, but I know Pat is like, the god of combi ovens. I'm like, bro, this oven's doing this and this and this. What do I need to do? And he'll either be like, hey, yeah, it's probably this, or he'll be like, hell if I know, call the factory. But either way, it's like, call somebody who's gonna know more than you. But so many techs these days don't want to do that. And then they suck at what they do. I'm like, when people ask me, how'd you get so good? I'm like, because I constantly ask people for help. I'm like, I don't know, I just try to learn this crap, but there's, tech support is there for a reason. And I've always used the rule, if you don't have at least an idea of what to look for within 20 to 30 minutes, that's when you need to start, calling people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the mentality there is, and it can be a junior tech, a young guy, or it can be a 60-year-old that's been doing it for 30 years. Yeah, it's just a mentality of, I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. Well, you don't know what you're doing. That's the problem. I mean, you got to pick up the damn phone and call because you're not doing anybody a favor either way.
See, and it's
And
funny because when people tell me, "Oh, I don't want to look stupid," I'm like, "Well, you can look stupid, or you can continue to be
be
stupid." I'm like,
stupid.
I'll look stupid for 5 minutes to gain a lifetime's worth of knowledge in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care
Amen.
how stupid I look, because I'm not gonna have to ask you the same question again. But that's always been my answer. You can either look stupid or you can continue to be stupid, but there's no way around it.
Well, on full disclosure, I went through a phase of that through my career. I went through a phase where I would go as far as I could go before I'd pick the phone up. I'm like, I don't want to call. I want to figure this out on my own. And to a degree, I think there's a period of time when most people are going to go through that, even if they have a good ethic or a mentality. There's going to be a little bit of pride there with, I don't want to call. Let me figure this out on my own. But I think the thing to do is it's a bad habit that has to get broken. So when you bring guys in to train them, you gotta like beat it into their head. If you get stuck, call me. Call a
Mhm.
factory. Call if you feel embarrassed, go out in a truck and call. If you don't want to do it in front of the customer, I don't care anymore. I used to get nervous when people were over me watching and stuff. And like in the last 5 to 10 years, somebody will be standing there watching and go, I'm not making you nervous. I said, I don't even know you're there. I don't care. I'm good. I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm looking at this shit because this stuff will kill me. I don't care what you're
yeah.
doing.
I'll start explaining to them what I'm doing. Like a lot of techs get mad. Why are they looking over my shoulder? I don't want them looking. I'm like, hey, let me explain to you, what I'm doing. I tested this part does this part does that. I found when I start doing that, they start leaving me alone.
There you
I
go.
don't know if they don't
Because,
want to hear what I'm saying, or what it is, but
oh my
they'll go
God, they
from
get
standing over my shoulder to back somewhere in the office hiding.
they get deer in the headlights look because they'll ask, well, what is it? And I'll Yeah, like if it's a turbo shaft, I go, well, the wave guys got crap in it, the mag blew up, the high voltage transfer. It's like I'm speaking Greek. I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, as long as you get it fixed.
Yeah.
I'm charging by the hour. You want to keep chatting? We're good. And I don't mind explaining it to them, but you get that feel when you're explaining. It's like they don't really know what I'm talking about, and you feel bad because you almost feel like you're talking over their head, and you don't want to look like an ass or be condescending. But you also can't spend a half hour giving somebody a class in basic electric theory so they understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, and then there's stuff you'll work on. I mean, you might get something that's. I worked on this VCM one time that was made in West Germany. That's how old it was. This is pre-Berlin Wall falling, and there's no tech support for that. You got to figure it out on your own because they're gone. But I tell you what, I learned from my dad a whole lot, and he went to something called the Northwood Institute, which is gone, and it was for gas. And he spent a week there learning gas because he was kind of scared of it when he started because he didn't know anything about it. So he went to that school, and they would go through and booby trap everything. I mean, they would loosen up pilot fittings, create gas leaks, do all that stuff. And so I learned a lot from him about gas and electricity. And I had the great fortune of knowing a couple of his friends, and they were elevator mechanics, and they taught me control relay logic, which I've got some training diagrams for those. You should see them. They're like 50 pages. And if you can wrap your brain around relay logic and stuff like that, everything else gets easier. That's what helped me learn wiring diagrams, because our wiring diagrams are one page. They're easy. These things are, I mean, they go from one place to another, and there's limit switches and all this crap going on. And they taught me a lot too about that part, and that got me in a good place. And then, well, hard knocks, that got me in a good place too. And I still get in trouble sometimes with stupid stuff. As a couple of years ago, I got the shit knocked out of me by a grill. It was a gas grill, Star Ultramax, 6 foot, with solenoids in it, and the switch had gone bad in it. And for some dumb reason, I thought I could do it without unplugging it because it was sitting on a low boy, and the low boy didn't want to move. And I thought, well, maybe I can just unplug these wires and change this switch real quick without having to fuck around with the plug. I reached up there and grabbed what I thought was a neutral, and it was a hot. And I got pulled over against the low boy kind of violently. God.
I'll never forget the first time I learned that anything European is switch neutral. That sucked real bad.
Yeah. Yeah, they use different colors for stuff.
Switch neutral, didn't let me out. I was like, screw this, man.
Yeah, we worked on a combi. Me and my dad, we worked on a combi oven in 1999, right when I started. And we got the call through Daubers, which Whaley bought,
Yeah.
or PT bought. But we knew Chuck Iowa, and we did sub work for him, and they sent us to West Virginia to do a rationale at a school. And Jesus, God, we spent 4 or 5 hours there. It was gas. It was a gas one, and it had ignition failure. It wasn't light. So we spent hours on it. And then we called the factory, and they basically walked us through the same stuff we had just done anyway. And then finally it got down to the guy says, did you check the frequency on the burner blower motor? I'm like, well, no. He said, do you have a meter that can check frequency? I said, well, by a strange coincidence, I do, actually. Because, I wanted the best fluke meter I could find, so I bought one. And he said, well, it's got to be between 76 and 80 hertz or some, I don't remember the number. It was something like that. It was a little band of frequency it had to be inside of. Well, this one was set higher or lower. It's one of the two. It was out of where it was supposed to be because they had adjusted it in Germany on 50 cycles or something. So it was different. Something was different. And that's all we had to do was go turn a screw and change the frequency output to this burner blower motor, and then it worked. And like from that moment on, it was like, I don't want to work on these. This is ridiculous. I've been used to working on, PS360s where it's a pretty simple Wayne burner setup, and there's only so much to go wrong here. And now we have to adjust frequency. Jeez, come on, guys.
It's different. I had to actually call tech support this last week, and I felt so dumb what it was. I had an iCombi. I did a PM at a restaurant chain around here, gas 61s, two of them. And one would heat for 6 seconds, quit heating. It'd keep running, it wouldn't error out. It just, actually, or electric, sorry. It'd heat for 6 seconds and then shut off, but it wouldn't error, nothing, just sit there like it was running. And I'm like, man, I didn't do anything. I changed, like, door gaskets, little flapper gasket, the air filter, the catch on the door, and the spout on the bottom of the new tanks. Well, I checked the switch, and I thought I had it set right for the voltage switch. Well, I call, get tech support. It's a guy in training. There's a guy in the background. I was like, hey, I'm training this guy. We're gonna walk through it. And finally, like the guy in the background couldn't take it no more. He's like, just check your voltage selector switch. I was like, dude, I changed it. It didn't affect it. He's like, dude, check the voltage selector switch. Put it for 208 because it was like 218. It was a 240. That's what I thought it was. Well, come to find out, dude, I put the 208 and the thing worked fine. I was like, man, I feel like the biggest freaking moron in the world. I was like, I changed it. I swear to God, I changed it earlier. Did the same thing. So,
yeah. See that switch is something I always check because first time I did a rationale install, we went through. I think it was the self test or whatever. It would go through like halfway through and then kick out in an error. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I called somebody who worked on more of them than me. Oh, just restart the self test. Sometimes it does that on a new install. So I went through it like 3 times. I went back the next day and I finally get through the rationale. And they're like, yeah, this switch is located right here. I flipped it over and I'm like, that was it. So that's like my default. I'm so traumatized from that install. Anytime I'm on a rationale, that's the first thing I look for.
I flipped it. It still did it. So I don't know what happened, but it fixed it. But I feel like the biggest idiot in the world.
Yeah, you get weird stuff like that on equipment. It's like gremlins. You got no way to explain why it did what it did. One of the elevator mechanics, he had these elevators in this federal building, and they did the weirdest shit. They had 2 tractions side by side, and if you put one of them on independent service, like took it out of the group of 2, the other car would run to each floor, top to bottom, constantly and stop at each floor. And they could never, he called the factory and they could never figure out why it did that. Wouldn't matter which one you did it to. If you took one of them out of the group, the other one would just do that constantly.
That's crazy.
It's like, and nobody knew why it did it. So there was 2. It was 2 in that group, and there was 4 elevators in the other group. And these things were built in 76 or 7, and they had microprocessors on them. So they were like state of the art when they built it. And I got to go in the machine room and see the controller, and it was ridiculous. It had so much crap going on, and the wiring diagram that they sent didn't match anything in there. So he had to work on his thing blind. That's crazy.
So, you said it's just you and your dad working? That's your only 2 technicians out in the field?
Yep. It's just us. My mom's the president. She runs the office, pays all the bills, pays us if we do good. We don't screw up.
You don't dock it through it. That's cool.
Yeah, we get docked. So, but I'm going to hire somebody. I tried last year. I actually hired my brother-in-law, and he was good to a point, but he was never going to get it he was never going to make technician. He's a good guy. He tried his best, but he just doesn't have it. So I'm going to go out there and look for that 18 to 24 demographic and try to snag somebody in college or getting out of high school that wants to start in a trade because man, I mean, it's taken decades, but it really does look like it's turning the corner now. It really does. I think it's really making a comeback, and now this is like ground floor investment. It's time to start buying them up and getting people while you can because the price is going to go up.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I want to get somebody in and get them started, and I want to grow. Me and my dad had this conversation for. That's what I was telling you earlier, Rich, about later comes fast. We've been talking for 15 years about where we are right now, where
Right.
they need to retire and not work anymore as much, or he does. My mom's gonna work till she's 90, but he's done,
Right.
and I can't take it all on my own. We're doing all we can now with the two of us, and it's killing us. So it's like, we either downsize and I work out of a truck and work out of my house and just take calls willy nilly, or I got to grow. And I'm like, I don't want to go the other way. I want to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my goal is to get going. And I've got some stuff in the works right now with a friend of mine who does refrigeration HVAC, and we're trying to work something out to get him involved because he's got a lot of knowledge. And that's where we're at. We're getting ready to start growing. It's just going to take a little time, but maybe in 5 years we'll be in a place where I've got to figure out what software to buy for 10 technicians. you know,
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. I
I'll give
want to.
you a promo code for repairs.
Yeah, I want to be. I always say this. You want to get in a position, and for Rich, for you too. This is kind of the mentality. You need to get where you're running a business and it's not running you. Because when you're one or two people, it's running you all the time. Because
Yeah.
you can't do the work and then do the business work at the same time. They're mutually exclusive events. It's really hard to do them at the same time. So
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
real quick, Brian Sanders, he said getting closer to his goal of working on big refrigeration stuff, starts a new job a week. So, big shout out to Brian for making a jump. And I'm excited to see him grow. And I look forward to seeing some new content from him and hopefully see him on some racks here soon. So, good job, Brian.
Yeah. Congrats, Brian, for sure.
yeah,
So, we're coming up on the hour. I like to stay under an hour because we get to stay here and shoot the crap all night. We'll have you back again. But, I mean, if you want to make a plea, if anyone's in your area and wants to talk to you about maybe, a apprenticeship or something, now's your chance. If you're still a little early on that, just it is what it is. So,
yeah. I'm working on a plan right now. I'm still trying to put it in action. That's something I talked with Nathan about. He helped me a whole lot with what I need to do to hire. So
those Miller boys are pretty smart, man.
they are. They know how to do it. Just like Jesus. Jesus is the man.
David there and talk to his guys. Like he wants to have a meeting and have me come down there and talk to his guys. I'm like, man, that's pretty cool.
Who does that?
Nathan Miller, the coastline.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty cool. So, well, you want to tell everybody where they can find you and link up with you if they want to talk to you on LinkedIn or anywhere else.
Yeah, I'm just on LinkedIn. My name Quentin Webb, and you'll pull it up and you'll see a little logo from my company in the picture. I don't have my face on there because that usually runs people off.
So, we'll link to your LinkedIn, and get you out there on tight and everything. I appreciate you coming on and just talking about your journey in the industry and some of the troubles and triumphs you've had along the way. It's always good to catch up, with you. We had you on. We did that little round robin thing last year, and we knew we had to get you back on. It took a little longer than we anticipated, but it was good talking to you, man.
Yeah, it was really an honor to come on. I really appreciate the invite a lot.
Yeah, we need to get better. I'm not very prepared when it comes to getting guests on.
We're horrible.
We work. It's rough, dude. If I had a secretary, my wife said she'd be my secretary. I was like, I'm not making any money at this. I can't afford you, secretary. All right, buddy. Well, have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate
Night, y'all.
everybody.
If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.